Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Well, I hope you like goals because tonight was full of them. Welcome to Game Over Calgary. My name is Auddie James, and this one is presented by our good friends over at Sports Interaction. Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Football continues, basketball is back, and the hockey season is well underway. Bet pre-game, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Made for Canadians by Canadians, Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Ontario only. Our guest today, I guess, is not usually an Ontario guy, but we find him in Toronto today. Mr. Mike Gould from Flames Nation, Daily Faceoff, Okotoks, Oilers, PA. The list goes on and on, but we're happy to have you, Mr. Gould. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, I'm just here on vacation and having to stay up a couple hours later to watch these games over the last few days. But no, it was worth the wait tonight. And bit of a weird ending, but that's what you like to see.
It is for sure, and I guess it kind of puts it into perspective, just like from being in Ontario, how lucky we are out west to be able to catch, like a hockey night in Canada. It starts at 6 o'clock and it goes till whatever 10 o'clock at night. Puts things into perspective when you go out east and you get to watch the Flames and they don't end at what it's probably 11:30 out there now. So
Yeah, I used to live out here actually. I spent a couple of years in Ottawa, and
as did
it
I.
it was different. It was different for sure. I mean, being able to watch hockey until probably about 12:30 a.m. It's different, that's for sure. Part of me likes it. Part of me likes being able to, you stay up late. I usually stay up late most nights anyway, and so it's kind of nice to have it. But I also kind of like having the game starting at 5. Having
I
early
know
matinees.
it's nice.
It's kind of nice sometimes. Yeah.
It is. You get to watch it all, but yeah, the Flames win tonight, 6-5 victory over the LA Kings. Um, I'd like to hear what you have to say. I don't think it was, and I saw you actually tweet about it. I agree with you. I don't think it was a perfect game from the Calgary Flames. I think far from it. When you have to, when your goalie allows 5 goals on any other given night, it's probably not a great night. Flames were able to score 6, which is more than what the Kings scored. But your thoughts, I guess, as a whole on the game tonight before we kind of break it down.
Yeah, it was okay. I think the first period was a lot of fun. Seeing all those goals, seeing Huberdeau score very quickly. Obviously, I actually thought his line was the worst of the four tonight, but but you know what? It was cool to see him score 5-on-5. He had some confident looks on the power play, and I think the real star of the game was Tyler Toffoli, who I think was their best player all night long. Their defense was okay. Hannif and Anderson is still working out some of their kinks, but Uyghur, looks really good. I'm glad that he didn't get, more seriously injured when he went down in the third period. Chris Tanev, I mean, I was worried that they might be bringing him back in a little early, but no, he looks really strong. And obviously, you don't know if he's completely 100%, but even in the last minute there, I thought he did some good things. Although I do think the Flames were a little startlingly porous, if that's the right way to put it, in the last 2-3 minutes. They really fell apart after what I thought was a really good preservation third period. It kind of fell apart for them a little bit. Trevor Lewis has got to score on that empty net at the one end before they come back and make it 6-5. That's been a problem with these Flames for a while now, is just getting those empty net goals. But otherwise, strong first, or sorry, I should say strong second after a 50-50 first. And then the third, I really liked it until that ending part, which was a little bit dicey.
Yeah, the latter half of that third period was kind of, I mean, not to say that we should have been panicking or had flashbacks of how they've given up leads in during that 7-game losing streak, but definitely a little less than ideal. Before we get into anything a little further here, let's read some of our lovely comments here. Insider J Money says, Mike Gould predicting 0 goals for the games. What do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a weird one. I wasn't super hyped on the lines coming in, and I think a couple of them looked really good. Obviously, they all scored in the first period, so that's a huge vindication in terms of what they were trying to do. But I do think things leveled out a little bit as the game went on. Um, I think sometimes you just they haven't scored a whole lot all year long, and you get the sense that that was going to change. But I just, for whatever reason, thought tonight wasn't going to be the night for that. And I thought Jacob Markstrom would be a lot better than he ultimately was, although Markstrom ended up making the save in the third period at the very end that sort of was the bacon saver. And it's hard to, all these predictions. They're all just sort of vibe guesses, and I guess for whatever reason the vibes just weren't in their favor going in from my viewpoint, but ended up being a big win.
That's you know what, I gotta agree with you there. 9 times out of 10, when I predict something or I pick something, the easiest thing is just to blame it on the vibes. If the vibes are there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. So that's like the easiest way to do it. So I agree. Noah Adler, surprised to see you here, my friend. The Flames are so back, in all caps. I don't know. I don't know if I agree, like, in saying that. I know we're excited that this team is now on they've got a streak in the right direction, but I still think there's a lot of like little things that weren't great this game that, you know, I mean, I think the Kings were a very beatable opponent coming into this. They're what, second or third in the division right now, but I think the Flames, obviously, and they did end up winning, but I expected a tight game. I kind of thought it was going to be a close game. Like when these two teams meet historically, they're usually pretty tight games. I don't know if they're so back. Well, let's just wait until they don't give up 5 goals on one game or in one game and have to battle from that. We almost lost that one, says Tokai number 1. And Noah, again, agreeing with saying that the last 2 minutes were definitely interesting. Noah Adler also saying, Mike Gould, former co-host of the now defunct Blastycast.
That is true.
Very true. Robert,
Our
very great admin, says Tyler Toffoli, best player. So true, Mike. And if you're a first time listener of Game Over Calgary, you'll know Robert's love for Tyler Toffoli. I drew a teapot on my first episode this year when I had no audio, so that was nice and fun. Should have come and visited me, Mike. I was in Toronto. That's from Will. I would disagree with Mike. Thought Kadri, Monge, and Lucic looked the worst. Your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I mean, he's saying that he would disagree with me on that. I don't think I really said anything that would say that what I said was something that he would disagree with. I mean,
I think it was in reply to your Huberdeau line wasn't the yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. No, I understand that now. I don't necessarily know if they were the worst line. I do still think Mangiapane's fighting it in some instances. He scored the goal, obviously, and good for him. And I think he will continue to get looks. I mean, I know there are people who think that Lucic had a big effect on Mangiapane coming through more in the third period of the game 2 days ago, and I didn't really agree with that personally. I don't think I think Lucic is still being overplayed, and I honestly don't think Lucic would be a bad player if he was played 7-8 minutes a night. Don't think he'd be a bad piece for this Flame team. I just think he's been put in tough situations by this coaching staff, where he is being asked to do things that aren't really befitting the player that he is right now. That being said, I thought Kadri was Kadri. I thought he had some good chances. I mean, maybe some of those were on the power play. It's a game. It's a funny game because coming out of it, I don't necessarily think that any of the lines were outstanding. Like maybe the Toffoli line, but like really, all things said, it was just a team effort. I think at the parts of the game where they were good, a good defensive effort. I think for a lot of it until the final 2-3 minutes. But yeah, no like real superstar performances other than Toffoli. I think I thought he had like 20 great A's in that game. I thought he was fantastic. Aside from that, hard for me to really pick out any really strong individual performances except for Adam Ruzicka, who was, I thought, really good. And again, on that Toffoli line. So, I guess you could say that line had a lot going for it. But aside from that, it was fine.
Isn't it nice to see that, though, the Toffoli and Ruzicka and even I think Lindholm had a pretty good game, too. Again, that whole top line. But how nice is it to see them clicking together, kind of seeing that chemistry right before our eyes, and look what happens when you let the kids play.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Ruzicka was terrific. Lindholm, I thought had a really strong game as well. Yeah, I shouldn't have said none of the lines were really that good because
You're eating
that
your
line
words
was
now.
really good. That line was really good. Yeah, got to give them a lot of credit. They were really good. And Ruzicka being a man possessed for a lot of the game, I thought, we there's Kent Wilson's Discord server. There's a running joke about one guy who thinks that Adam Ruzicka is the next coming of Joe Thornton, and we were all kind of on him over the summer for it because, I mean, in fairness, it is a pretty goofy take. But holy mackerel, he looked good tonight. And that line is terrific. I mean, you can't put Huberdeau back there right now because you'd be
No.
taking away what looks like a really good line. I think there are combos that need to be switched up. The point about the kids needing to play is, a very, very strong point. Ruzicka was really effective, and it just goes to show why was this guy scratched for Kevin Rooney for so long? Does not make any sense. It's really the equivalent to last year of Shillington being scratched for Zadorov off the hop. It's just like, well, why didn't you know what you had in this guy? So I would like to see Matthew Phillips come up. I would like to see Jacob Pelletier come up at points in this season. Jacob Pelletier, people need to pump the brakes on talking about his preseason, about his Penticton. That is 2 months ago now, and Jacob Pelletier right now is playing some of the best hockey I've seen from him. 11 points in 12 games now in the A. Phillips, obviously, we know what he is. He hasn't scored a point in his last 2 games, but even then, he's still head and shoulders the best player on the Heat, or on the Wranglers, I should say. So, I think at a certain point, when the next injury happens, which probably will happen, it's time to look more at these guys, because if what Ruzicka showed tonight, you just got to take that gamble sometimes. It's really worth the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people were kind of head scratching when Daryl put him on that top line. One thing we know is Daryl didn't want to play him in on the fourth line in the bottom six. Maybe you know more about that than I, but I think the general consensus was that we understood Daryl didn't want to play him in that role. So I mean, it wasn't a surprise to see him in the top six, but a good gamble, we'll say.
Was definitely a surprise for me, but I mean, I got to give Daryl some credit for putting him in that top six role. I do think it is a little bit the firefighter putting out his own fire in some instances, where it comes to, you put Milan Lucic there in the first place. You put Kevin Rooney. I mean, Kevin Rooney was signed in the first place, and I don't think he really should have been. And that is Brad Treliving's doing. And I just don't, Rooney had some promise in the preseason in short spurts. Maybe I bought into that a little bit too much, but like, oh boy, that signing is not looking super great right now. It's almost getting to the point where you pull a Toby Reeder and put him on waivers, because yeah, not looking so hot.
No, definitely not. And the comment section would agree with you as well. Excuse me. Rooney eating popcorn for a bit would be great, says Mitch. So the people in chat are agreeing with you. Hey, speaking of chat, let's do this thing where we all like the video, because Mike Gould is such an amazing guest and he's
Oh
fantastic,
man,
and taking time out of his evening in Toronto when he could be doing so much more in Toronto to talk with us on Game Over Calgary. So let's be sure hit the like if you're enjoying this great content and a great Calgary Flames win. And be sure, if you are enjoying it as well, just hit share button on the YouTubes, and you can share it to your preferred social media. Let's get more Flames fans in here. A lot of this show is dependent on what you guys say. I love reading the comments and making it more interactive. So the more people in here, the better. So be sure to hit like. Let's boost that YouTube algorithm, get more people in here, and be sure to share the stream as well. Okay, so Jonathan Huberdeau slots back in after missing some time with injury. And, I think when most people saw Jonathan Huberdeau coming back in that Matthew Tkachuk trade, nobody would have really pegged him to be third line winger with Michael Backlund and Trevor Lewis. But I'll give them a bit of credit. I don't think they looked terrible tonight. I mean, I know you said that line wasn't super sexy or flattering to you. Your thoughts on Huberdeau playing with Backlund, taking Lewis out of the equation? Let's just talk about Huberdeau and Backlund.
yeah, on paper I don't hate it. Michael Backlund is a terrific hockey player. He's a really good elevator of a player. We've seen Michael Backlund elevate the games of so many players that he's been with in the past. And, Jonathan Huberdeau is a player who has thrived with a center, and Sam Bennett, who is probably not the player who a lot of Florida fans penciled him in as playing with for a lot of last season. And on paper, I don't mind it at all. I don't mind the fit. I mean, they've tried. Daryl said it. They've tried everything else,
Hmm.
and I don't know how healthy Huberdeau has been to start the year. It's hard to say. It's hard to discern. He hasn't looked like the player who I expected for a lot of the year. I'm not saying he's a bad player by any means, but I just think he hasn't come necessarily exactly as advertised. But to his credit, I thought he made some good plays tonight. I just didn't notice him a whole lot, and I think his line was pretty low event tonight, which sometimes that happens when you're on a Michael Backlund line, and you know, he certainly wasn't bad by any means. I just wasn't wowed,
Hmm.
which isn't a problem. I mean, not every player has to wow you every single night, and sometimes those are the games that help you win hockey games. I mean, really. And I thought on the power play, he had some good passes. He had some good looks, and he'll start scoring more. I'm not
Hmm.
super duper worried about Huberdeau's production. It's just the amount of work he does to push play up the ice, which sometimes concerns me a little bit.
Do you think there's more to it with Huberdeau? It just seems oddly uncharacteristic. I know a lot of people, and rightfully so. It's a new system. It's new line mates. It's new team. It's everything. And some people take more time to settle in than others, and that's valid as well. But do you think that there's more to it? Do you think that there's something lingering with Huberdeau?
Well, it's a huge adjustment, and the expectations that come with being paid as much as he's being paid $82 million or $84 million over 8 years. That's just a massive weight on your shoulders, and you could see the way that he celebrated after he scored. I mean, that's huge. I mean, getting on the board, doing what he's paid to do. I mean, the expectations that come also with seeing what Matthew Tkachuk is doing in Florida, knowing that Mackenzie Weegar isn't really a guy who you pay necessarily to score.
Hmm.
And so that weight all falls on you. And also knowing that Johnny Gaudreau is gone, and that's a void that you're expected to fill. And so I'm not at all surprised really that he has not come out of the gates, completely flying. It's a situation that's going to be difficult for anybody, especially when you're in a Canadian market, and the weight of facing a guy like Connor McDavid in the playoffs, and all of the expectations that Calgary fans are going to have when you're coming off a playoff loss, and really you're only being paid $2 million less than Connor McDavid, and look what he's doing. I mean, really. So I do think ultimately the end game will be either having a different right wing on that line
Hmm.
instead of Trevor Lewis, who I don't think has been bad. In fact, I think he's been great, or a different center, or just shifting Huberdeau somewhere else completely. But for now, don't hate that fit at all.
Yeah, as James Johnson said last time, analytics darling Trevor Lewis. Let's have a look at some of the comments here before we transition into something else. Everybody's saying they like the stream, which we like to hear. Let's go 2023 NHL draft says the Flames almost blew it in the third, if not for Markstrom. That was correct. By the way, Yandel on the broadcast stating to make Huberdeau captain was interesting again. I don't know if like that's the move right now, especially for someone like Huberdeau is definitely, we just spent a couple minutes there talking about his struggles and his adjustments. And I think the last thing that someone like that needs is more pressure uh,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
with the C. I think that, it could be a future fit, like sometime down the line. Um, or Michael Backlund gets it because I've been fighting for Backlund for a while. But I just don't think that right now is the time for that, especially given some of the the pressures that he's already feeling. Markey saved the game for sure. Amon says waiting very, very, very patiently for a Huberdeau Kadri Mangiapane line. What say
Yeah, like
you,
it's
Mike Gould?
I think Mangiapane is on his own little island right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nothing against Mangiapane. I just think he needs to work out a lot of kinks in his game, and maybe putting him on that line would be fine. I think they've tried that line a little bit. Excuse me, that combination just a little bit, and it's gotten smoked. It's gotten just destroyed. I think with Kadri. Kadri's struggled at 5-on-5 lately, though. Folks might be surprised to hear that, but he's been a little bit underwater at 5-on-5 after a really good start, and I think he'll come around as well. And obviously, the production is there. Mangiapane, yeah, I mean, those guys are all having their own little issues and different facets of the game. And so, putting them all together, seeing if you can get some chemistry worked out. I'm not opposed to it. There's not a whole lot right now that I'm really vehemently opposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, the one thing would be putting Lucic on the second or third or first line. But yeah, you know what? And I do like the comment that was just made in the chat about Joe Pavelski, who couldn't figure out his first year in Dallas, and look at him now. I mean, honestly, totally. Yeah,
Right.
I totally agree with that.
That's a player
There's
that
a lot of
Flames
things.
fans were rooting for last trade deadline, right?
That's right.
Like,
Yeah. Jonathan Huberdeau is such a talented player, and so you can be a little bit underwhelmed and disappointed in what he's brought so far, but in the long term, there are a couple small warning signs, little couple dots that I have going blink blink in my brain, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not too worried.
yeah, no, I would agree. Good players are not immune to bad stretches, and things happen, and this is just one of those times.
Johnny had many of them.
That's
many,
right.
many, many for Johnny Gaudreau.
He did, and that's something that
Yep.
Flames fans may be having a short memory on. Clay Emo, Canuck Clay, it must be nice to be talking about a team that is winning. I'm so sorry
No
for your
kidding.
Canucks, Mr. Emo. Sarcastic remarks, what's going on? Auddie has the mic tonight. Oh, this is just Robert plugging us. That's nice. Last weekend, Chris Tanev, a defenseman, returned to the Flames lineup. Certainly was a relief because without him, the Flames didn't win a game. As for Huberdeau, there's little doubt that there's pressure to perform.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, because under Brad Treliving of GM, the team has had limited playoff success.
Can't disagree with any of that.
Yeah, no,
Totally.
it's a lot of facts right there.
Yeah.
Insider J Money says put a C on Markstrom's mask. Do the old was it Roberto Luongo?
Yeah, it was
Canucks
Lou. Hall of Famer,
unofficially.
Roberto
Yeah,
Luongo.
exactly. I thought
Yeah.
for sure that you were in Toronto to do some daily face-off coverage.
No.
No?
I actually had no idea that the Hockey Hall of Fame was this weekend until I landed.
Did
No
you
idea.
are you planning like you're not going to go
Nope.
or I guess is it
Nope.
done?
That was today. That was
Oh, it
already
was
done.
today.
It
Okay,
was
that's
today.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
No.
unfortunate. You could have
Yeah,
made it.
I
You
had
could have
no
made a
idea.
whole daily face-off trip out of it. What the hell?
Yeah. I actually have today off, but yeah. I just
Okay, there you
decided
go.
yeah.
Huberdeau will figure it out, but like you said, yeah, there was the comment from Sarcastic Remarks that you brought up. Toffoli, Kadri, Lucic, vibes per 60 would be highest in the league if put together. Vibes per 60 and every probably negative advanced statistic, analytic. I don't know.
Would not be opposed to a line with Jacob Pelche, Nazem Kadri, and Tyler Toffoli. That's a line that I think could do a lot of good things. Just something to think of. Important to know with Jacob Pelche, I made this point a lot of times before. This is his time. I think
Mhm.
he's one of five players from that 2019 first round who have not played an NHL game, and by far he is the best case of those five to be the next to make the jump.
Right.
By far, like it's not even close. And yeah, no, I would be watching for it, maybe even before Christmas, because it just logically it makes by far the most sense, I think.
And for those of us who are watching and don't know, Mike is very, very in on the Wranglers. Very, very in on the Wranglers. So
I mean,
so
to an
take
extent.
take what he says and do your research, but he knows what he's talking about in that regard.
Before you go on,
Yeah.
for the folks who I see somebody just asked about Connor Zary, and I just want to add on to here with Connor Zary. I would say keep him there for now because I really like what they're doing with Connor Zary. He's on a line right now with Emilio Peterson and Cole Schwint, and he's not relying on Pelche. He's not relying on Phillips. He's not doing any of that. He's driving his own line as a center right now, playing with a couple of guys, and Peterson, who was a scratch to start the year, and in Schwint, who went his first 10 games as Wrangler without scoring a single goal. And that line is totally on it right now. So I wouldn't break that one up. I would bring up Pelche or Phillips and do something with that. But for now, Zary, I love where he's at.
Let him marinate, man. Let him marinate in the A.
That's right.
Hey, while we're at it, there's a few more new faces in the chat. If we could take some time right now just to hit like on the stream, that would be greatly appreciated. And like I mentioned before, let's get some shares. If you want to share it on Twitter as well, that would be great. Get some more voices in here so we can talk with more Flames fans. I put down as a note in the third period, and it was more so just a question because, like you said, he was just all over it. I just said, like, is Toffoli the best Flames forward right now?
Yep.
Would you agree with
100%.
that?
Yeah, easily. There were a lot of people in this summer who were down on Tyler Toffoli, and oh boy, has he been good. He's been unquestionably their best forward right now. And I think what he's doing all around the ice, he's really surprising me in transition. He's making some fantastic passes, and then I love that shot that he took to score the goal tonight. That was just fantastic, pure sniper's goal. Yeah, 6 goals already, and he looks fantastic. Huge, huge fan of his game.
Yeah, I always have been high on Tyler Toffoli. Then he came in obviously when they made that trade on Valentine's Day and had a
Yeah,
great start with the Flames, and then it kind of, I think everybody would kind of agree, it tapered off near the end of the year, and it was seemingly uncharacteristic. But you know,
really cooled off. It was
yeah,
weird.
like completely pumped the brakes and did not look like the Tyler Toffoli that came in.
It wasn't even that he wasn't scoring. He just wasn't playing well. And
Hmm.
right now in the last 10 games, he's been getting like at least 5 grade A's every single game. Tonight, I thought he had 10. Like I thought he was easily their most dangerous player. He's making great passes. He's not a passenger by any measure. He's not James Neal
No,
or anything close to it. He is incredibly good right now and easily worth what the Flames paid to get him.
and he looks like he's shooting the puck hard.
Oh yeah,
He's got
yeah.
some zip on that shot.
Yeah, and you
He's
know what? Even I got to give a shout out to Brett Ritchie, who I was probably a little bit harder on last year than I should have been. And he's been out of the gate being incredibly effective on the forecheck, faster than I've ever seen him play for the Flames. Like down last year, he had some sparkling analytics last season that I thought were an outlier.
a lot of people did.
I thought they were completely. I did not understand how his numbers were so good last year. I just didn't. And this year, even in games where he hasn't been scoring, he has been making excellent plays to disrupt players in their own zones, and he's been what everybody thinks Milan Lucic is. Honestly, he is really fantastic, just really fantastic so far.
Yeah, it's
So
great to
got to give
see.
him some praise.
I'll eat crow too because I
Yeah,
think a lot of people have been hard on Brett Ritchie, and the joke of him being inevitable. Everybody talks about it on Twitter, and
yeah,
but he's been playing great, and I think he's been playing kind of above expected
yeah.
from what a lot of people kind of had coming into this year. Another quick note before we kind of put a bow on today's episode. Nick DeSimone fitting in. I think
Yeah, he's fine.
he looks okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had no issues with Nick DeSimone getting called up. I'm glad that I think he's better than Dennis Gilbert. I think even he might be better than Connor Mackey right now. And he he has been a good AHLer in the Flames system for quite a while. And he's put in the work. He's a good power play guy. He's not going to get power play minutes here. But he had their worst underlings tonight, which whatever, they weren't that bad,
Hmm.
and you're somebody else to be the worst. But he was fine. I have no issues with Nick DeSimone, and I think he's an NHL player. Frankly, I thought when he got called up, I thought this is a guy who just hasn't gotten a chance versus a guy who's a career AHLer, and I think he's done a good job to acquit himself, and he might stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't think he's looked bad whatsoever. As I mentioned, we're gonna put a bow on this episode shortly here. We'll hit some comments. I'll ask you a couple more, and then we will conclude as we've only got 8 minutes left in our non paid for Zoom call, so we have to make it quick. Where are we seeing here? How has Zari looked? You looked at that one already. I'd like to see Lucic up on that second or third line. Seems like he's been playing well. He's been up on that
Oh,
second line, and I hope you're
yeah,
being. I hope the sarcastic remarks is being sarcastic as hell there.
you know what? I got nothing against you, Milan Lucic. I
No.
really don't. I think he's he was very nice to me. I asked him a question a few weeks ago at a scrum.
Hmm.
He's a consummate pro. I don't necessarily want to see him re-signed, but that's nothing against Milan himself. And I will say, to his credit, there was a period a couple of years ago where he was a very, very effective Calgary Flame. Right now, I just don't think he's that guy. And careers ebb, careers flow.
Hmm.
Right now, I think he's in a valley. I'm not sure if he's going to climb out, but I can't not wish him well because of what
No,
he
you
has
don't want to see
done.
the downfall.
Yeah, so you don't wish anybody, but I don't think he has earned the second or third line spot that he's gotten for a lot of these games.
I would agree as well. Whatever happened to James Neal? By the way, I know he got cut from Columbus's tryout camp. He had a PTO with Columbus and then was released, and he's just kind
Yeah,
of there now, right? He's
just
just a guy.
hanging out. hanging out on the couch,
playing Fortnite, I'm sure.
just like the rest of us.
We'll try to get him on the next episode of Game Over Calgary. Let's see how that goes.
Get the exclusive Nealer interview.
Yeah. Primetime client Peter, hello. He says there was a Neil jersey at the game tonight. Non-zero chance it was actually him.
I own a James Neal jersey.
You do?
Yeah.
I would not have. Actually, you know what? I would have pictured that.
I own both a Neal and a Lucic jersey. Both.
I respect it. You know what? There was a point when when James Neal was on the Penguins, he was a fun player to watch.
His signing was huge. It was a huge moment. It just didn't work.
I'm so disappointed that didn't work out. Richie is just 3 goals back from Matthews. #RocketWatch. Absolutely.
You know what? Hey, I'm gonna say this right now because everybody knows how much I watch Arizona. Nick Richie's having a great year too. Probably won't cost a whole lot at the trade deadline. Would not be opposed to them reuniting the Richies. Just
there
saying.
You go. You heard it first.
Would not be opposed to it.
From Arizona Stan. I don't know what we would call you. Arizona.
I don't know.
Resident Arizona fan / writer /
I have an educational interest.
There you go.
In that, yeah.
Is it because they play at ASU?
Yeah, exactly.
Educational interest.
There you go.
I like to think I'm funny. Amon actually put out a good meme about Matthews and Richie earlier. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
There goes the winning streak for the Kings. I guess I kind of expected it against Calgary. People have shared, which is great. I have an old Neil t-shirt from when he was in Pittsburgh. What's up, boys? Big W tonight, says Justin Rempel. Welcome back, Justin. Thank you for stopping by. I guess we're pretty much gonna wrap it up here. I think we've rambled long enough, and I've taken up enough of Mike's precious time on vacation. But before we go, for those people who don't know who you are, would be bizarre if you're on a Flames show and you don't know who Mike Gould is. But go ahead and give the shameless plug of every single outlet that they can find you on, because it seems like it's endless, and where they can find you on social media.
Well, I do some writing for Daily Faceoff. That's Frank Saravalli's site, so everybody knows what that is, I think, at this point. Flames Nation, I do the odd bit and bite there, flamesnation.ca. Okotoks Oilers, call some of their games, do PA for the other ones, do some writing on their website, okotoks.ca. AJHL team, very good AJHL team.
Quite good.
Quite good. Very good, very good. I do some play-by-play for the Calgary Dinos. You can watch those games on Hockey TV. Let me keep going here.
I told you.
Do some freelance play-by-play stuff for HN Live, which you have also worked for a little bit. Just called a few games with our buddy Peter Labardius the other day.
We saw that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Rocky Mountain Classic over at Winsport. That was a good time. Ran into Jerome there, actually. I did not say hi. He was busy. But Jerome was coaching the Rink Academy Kelowna. Yeah. No, he's a busy guy. I should have gone up to him and said you should be an assistant with the Flames. I think that'd be a natural fit. 10 years time, 5 years time.
Just in time for Tej to come up.
Well, he's got about as much experience coaching as Marty St. Louis does. Might as well. I mean, Rink Academy is a pretty good school. So.
Oh yeah, no, they have a great program. I think he's coaching with Patrick Weirkosh as well, former Ottawa Senator,
and
is a coach on that team.
Former Flames center Byron Ritchie is also
that's
a coach,
right.
I believe, for that program as well.
Yeah, lots of great alumni there. Back to your AJHL comment. I'm just going to end it with Go Dragons. But I am a big.
The Oilers beat the Dragons in the playoffs last year.
They did. Yes, I know. I remember quite well. I was in the rink and I was very upset. Big Ty Yoder fan though. I do like Ty Yoder.
He's a good reminds me dragger.
Yeah, reminds me of Phil Kessel.
He's a good player. Oh,
he's a good player.
He totally does.
He's a good player.
Yeah. He's heating up.
Yeah, he's good stuff. Go follow Mike at Mike T Gould, I believe it is, on Twitter.
No longer verified, thank God.
No longer verified.
God, that was a disaster. Elon Musk needs to log off.
Figure it out,
the worst
Musk.
Poster in the world.
Oh, jeez.
That was a disaster.
At Mike T Gould, GOULD on Twitter. Thank you all for stopping by. This has been great. Thank you, Mike, for your time. Our next game over Calgary will be on Thursday versus the Tampa Bay Lightning at 5 p.m. puck drop or 5 p.m. local time puck drop It's in Tampa Bay. They go on the road for quite some time now after tonight's game. I will have your game over call for that one, and we will catch you in that one. Thanks again for stopping by. Hit like, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you on Thursday against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.